Hello, it's Diane with Diane's Blue Hearts and Butterflies.com. And the April class that I had was focusing on the Hydrangea Haven and Hydrangea Hill Suite. And these are some of the cards featuring the Hydrangea Hill Mercury glass acetate. It's really hard to tell on video and through pictures, but one of them is pink and one of them is purple. And then the back side is silver. And it looks like old vintage glass. Some of the other products in the suite is the pastel pearls that are available in the January to June 2021 mini catalog, as well as the Hydrangea Haven stamp set, along with the Hydrangea dies. These are in a bundle while they are in the mini catalog. And that catalog runs through the end of June. And these are the dies that go with them. And there are two things of stamps. Some of these stamps are like a watercolor wash background image, and then others are the detailed images, and then there is the mini sentiments. Another product that I did use on this one, the first one that I used was from a previous embossing folder that I had, but the one that I really wanted to get in use for it is the Meadow Moments, and it's the one that has like the falling leaves on it, because it leaves the bottom portion to be more clean and open, because you're attaching the acetate sheets and also stamping on the lower portion. And so I wanted to share these with you. So let's go over the pieces that we would need, and go on, you can check on my blog, Diane's Blue Hearts and Butterflies.com, for a list of all of the supplies that you will need, the dimensions, and a link to this video. So I started with a thick white cardstock base. It's 4 1/4 by 11, scored in landscape at 5 1/2. The ones that had the pink, I chose to use the Rococo Rose, and then some of the kits I used Gorgeous Grape for the background layer. And this is a 5 3/8 by 4 1/8 to layer on. Then there's a piece of 5 1/4 by 4. This is the one that you will use the embossing folder across the top, coming down with the falling leaves. There's a scrap piece of white cardstock to stamp and the hydrangea flower and be able to color and die cut that out. There's also 3 pieces of the acetate, and these are cut at 3/4 of an inch by 4. And one thing about these is there is a little film on the back of these that you will need to remove. They are there to kind of protect it from getting scratched and everything, but you will remove these. And the best way to do that is to just kind of work from a corner and peeling back, and then it kind of lifts and pulls up, and there's that little film. So you'll take those off of this back side where the silver is to get that just going, and then you'll peel that off. I also die cut the little flowers using this string of flowers here. I cut that out of the designer series paper that is part of this suite, and I just die cut 9 of those to be able to scatter on the front of, or on the top of the card, the flower, sorry, after I colored that. So that is the pieces. Now this card, I did see Joyce McIntosh, another demonstrator, had done a card like the cards like these, and I did case hers because I just really thought it was a beautiful way to show off that acetate. So I'm going to bring in some pieces that I've already done so that we can just work on some of the coloring. This is the after it's been embossed with that folder. I hope that you can be able to see. And this is the top. And then that leaves plenty of room down here to layer these pieces and also be able to stamp the sentiment in between, which I'm going to show how to do in a moment. Now the flower on the on this one, I wanted to focus on being able to use any of the coloring techniques that I've been showing to my classes the last few times. You can use sponges, you can use daubers, you can use markers, you can use watercolor pencils and blender pens, any kind of way that you choose that you want to do that. On this one, I did want to use the blender brush on this. These, they look like they're stained. They do stain, but there's really nothing on them. So I just wanted to be able to show this and how to use that. So I'm bringing in some Highland Heather, and I just kind of put some on here and then rub a little bit off. And then I just kind of bring it in different areas and add that purple in there. And then I'm just going to wipe it off. Some people use a cloth towel off to the side, and some people just keep wiping it on their grid paper like I did. And then there's this one is Seaside Spray. It's just a little bit of a lighter blue that I felt went with the hydrangeas very well. And I'm just kind of trying to mix that in a little bit, give a little more of a blue hint to it. This one I don't need to wipe off that much because it's such a light kind of a blue. I'm just trying to wanting to try to get those little bit of blue areas for the bluer flowers. And if you want, you can always come back in with some other. I'm going to bring in some purple posy and see if I can catch some of those areas that I didn't quite get very well on the edges and such. All right. And then the leaves, I do have the Old Olive ink. I need to rub this off. I find these are so much easier for me to use than the daubers tend to leave a little bit of a more of a pronounced circle, and the sponges kind of sometimes leave streaks for me. And so I really like these brushes, these blending brushes. Kind of get some of that green on here. And to stamp this, you can either use it directly on a clear block, or if you are afraid that because it's such a large stamp that you might not get all the detail, you can use the Stamparatus to stamp these this flower onto the white. That way, if you do miss something, it's held into place so you can actually stamp it again and keep restamping until it gets a good, very good image. Unfortunately, this one, when I restamped it, I accidentally moved it a little bit, so it the stem part is what moved and kind of restamped a little off. But that is basically what I did for the coloring on this one. And then one of the sentiments in here that I really thought was very nice is I appreciate all of the little things that you do. And since I wanted this to be kind of evenly spaced between the acetate pieces, I kind of put one down as a guide, and then I inked up the stamp. Oh, before I get it down there, I need to set this on top of Stampin' Pierce mat, because the photopolymer stamps don't have the spongy part like the red rubber stamps. And so in order to get a very good image, clear image, the Stampin' Pierce mat kind of gives a little bit of a foam backing so that it kind of pushes back. And excuse my head if I'm in here. I'm just trying to get this just right above where this acetate is. And then move that out of the way. And the good thing about the acetate is it does have some bigger splotches of the color, so you can actually use glue dots in some of those areas to put the acetate onto the card with. So you just find where those bigger splotches are so that it doesn't show through to the glue dot. And then you glue that one down, and then you glue the next one up. Just finding the glue dots here, figuring out where I want to put them. Get one right there. And then put that one kind of spaced above. It looks like I got a little bit off, but that's what it is about doing things homemade, is sometimes get a little off. It's a little bit easier with more practice, and also if you're not trying to keep your head out of the camera, it's a lot easier. And then there's the third one, and I just kind of tried to create another spacing of about equal amount there. And then I just used adhesive on the back. I have to be careful with this Seal Plus because sometimes it can peel the backing of the paper, the cardstock and paper, if it's kind of loose, because it is a very strong adhesive. So I'm just creating a little border around everywhere where that gorgeous grape is. And then I'm going to apply adhesive to the back of this. And then apply this to the front of the card where there's a little bit of a border. Again, just a little border around there. And you can stamp images on the inside and sentiments on the inside as well. And then the flower, I'm just going to add some dimensionals and pop this up on the front of the card. So I'm just going to strategically put some of these around. And pull these off. So these hydrangeas are some of my favorite flowers. So this one I'm just going to be kind of bringing it in so that it's not blocking the sentiment. And then I'm just going to use some multi-purpose glue to the back of these little flowers. I'm just going to kind of randomly glue those on over the front. If you want, you can kind of lift the petals a little bit. This is the designer series paper that comes in that suite, and it's a very beautiful paper. There's so many different ones to choose from. Now my fingers are sticky. That's what happens when using the white glue. For me, it just gets everywhere on my fingers. So one. Another one. In fact, some of the papers have some fairly large flowers on them. Just bring these out just to show a little bit. Some of these have these larger areas of flowers, and you could even just cut some of those out and put those on the inside of a card as well. That's what I did to some of my cards. And then I'm going to bring in the pastel petals or pastel pearls. I'm going to put about 3 on here. Just kind of on the front of the card. And then that's what you end up with. If you wanted to, you could add some more bling with rhinestones or something. And again, like I said, you could stamp the inside with something, and for sure stamping the envelope so that it can be decorative as well. So I hope that you enjoyed these ideas and ways of showcasing this acetate, and I appreciate it, and ask that you'll check out my blog, Diane's BlueHeartsandButterflies.com, for more card ideas. Thank you.